Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And in our top stories today, more of a reaction, as it were, to Charlamagne Tha God, who was on The View. And I just wanted to share some of this, the clip with you guys, because some of the things in this exchange are quite poignant and very much worth pointing out, as I just found it absolutely extraordinary. But here we go.
Let me ask you something that's going around right now. A lot of this conversation about President Biden getting criticized from both sides of the aisle for pardoning his son Hunter after repeatedly saying he would never do it. And a lot of people are saying that it's hypocritical, etc., as if the other side doesn't do it. But what's your reaction to it?
I mean, I think all of the criticism is valid because, you know, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time. And, you know, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, you know, whether or not, you know, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that right now. But since they were calling Trump a threat to democracy and they were saying that, you know, nobody's above the law, but they were speaking about him, that's what they were running on. So when he...
And this is what we talked about the other day in our video with Kash Patel and others, is that, you see, the left puts itself in a position of righteousness, but as we say here on the BuzWeaver channel, they don't hold themselves to the same standards they expect from everyone else. It's like they can do whatever they want to do, right? The laws are for thee, not for me. So they take on this, as he says, this sense of self-righteousness that they can do no wrong. And even if they do this, that, or the other, or say this, that, or the other, they can't be held accountable for it.
He kept saying things like, oh, you know, nobody's above the law. I respect, you know, the jury's decision in regards to my son. He didn't believe that, but he didn't have to volunteer that lie to begin with.
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed his mind.
You really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a sudden?
No, I'm going to tell you what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over.
See, this get over attitude is absolutely agonizing because since 2016, since Trump came down that elevator, there was a coordinated effort by the establishment, as we have talked about with Molly Ball's article, the shadow campaign, to go after Donald Trump. But not only go after Donald Trump, go after his family, go after his business partners, go after his associates, go after individuals that knew the associates of the neighbor of the this and the that and the other. They just went after Donald Trump. But at no point do they ever recognize or acknowledge the lawfare that they used against Donald Trump, the smear tactics, the entire constructed, cooperative cabal they created to go after Donald Trump. And she's trying to say that it was about time that Joe Biden recognized this? Wow.
And this is just my feeling, because at some point you get to the place where you just go, so I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that go out. They're the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground. Listen, they don't have to do that.
I'm a Democrat.
Exactly. I am so glad he's saying this. And Whoopi, of course, is trying to backtrack and double down on the fact that they should get away with everything because, they're well-intentioned and their position is the most correct. They'll tell you what to think. They'll tell you what opinions are. You guys remember when daytime television used to be about entertainment and having celebrities on, and the celebrities would talk about their TV shows or their movies or a book, and they'd have chefs on there, and they would just have like trending issues and fashion and all these you remember when daytime television had all that? Now everything is politics. Daytime television is politics. Sports is politics. Hollywood is politics. Radio is politics. Everything is stinking frickin' politics. And as I say that as a political commentator.
Okay, tell me what the moral high ground is.
The moral high ground is nobody's above the law. I respect what the jurors are saying. He don't have to do that.
So we're mad at him because he changed his...
Oh, no. By the way, I'm not mad at him pardoning Hunter Biden.
But you sound like you're
mad. No.
If I could get in on this, I actually think it went further, and this is one thing we really disagree on. Joe Biden made a point of saying we stand by our institutions and the impartiality of the Department of Justice.
Yes.
Democrats ran on that. The same DOJ indicted Hunter Biden. How we shouldn't be saying it's corrupt like Donald Trump does, but then in his...
But see, that's just it. They hijacked our culture. They hijacked our institutions. They hijacked our justice system so that they could have this moral high ground. And if you objected or you criticized them, they would cancel you, ban you, shut down your bank account, whatever they had to do, get you fired from your job. I mean, they had the entire, there was nothing you could do. I know this even as a creator. Because the things that would happen to us on Twitter, the things that would happen to us on social media, when they were all in control, when they had all the power, they were going to make sure that anyone who criticized them, anybody who tried to expose them, you would be considered a conspiracy theorist. It was absolutely extraordinary.
Statement pardoning Hunter Biden, he says that it was a political pursuit by his own Department of Justice.
Can you explain to me why it is that when Joe Biden does something, everybody clutches their pearls?
Oh my gosh, can you believe that? Everybody clutches their pearls. You have got to be kidding me, lady. Of all the smears, of all the tactics, of all the scummery that went on with the left against Donald Trump and the establishment, you have the audacity to say that now you're clutching your pearls?
He's wrong.
Nobody
he lied.
criticized Donald Trump more than me or Charlamagne Tha God.
I'm sorry. Yeah, people have criticized him more. I've criticized him more. We've all criticized him more, but you're missing my question.
Okay.
My question is, what is it that makes people flip out with Joe, but we don't have the same kind of thing?
Well, I don't think people are flipping out with Joe. I think Democrats are flipping out with Joe because Democrats believe that they don't represent what he's currently representing. But that's just not true. That's why I say they stand on this moral high ground that simply does not exist. And I think this is also the problem when we pick sides, right?
Exactly. The difficulty here is that you have an establishment uni-party, right? You have a group of elites, an oligarchy, a cabal of people, and they're the ones who essentially installed Joe Biden. And they're running things in the background. So technically, the Democrats are walking on eggshells. So the only thing they knew how to do was to take on this position of self-righteousness that they could do no wrong because they're backed up by the establishment. And the problem with this is you get conflicting ideologies, conflicting philosophies, conflicting plans. This is why Kamala Harris could never really express any ideas or thoughts because, one, she didn't want to step on the toes of Joe Biden, and she also didn't want to step on the toes of the establishment. So basically, she just had to word salad everything because, she could possibly get in trouble or Joe Biden could get in trouble. And the other thing, too, within the oligarchy, within the cabal of people, they're all fighting for positions of power themselves. And so you have this constant battle of division within their own groups.
He turned political parties into teams. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. Ain't nobody more delusional than me, right? Okay? I feel like we're going to the Super Bowl every year, but I'm not delusional. Well, no, that is delusional. But when it comes... But when it comes to political parties, if you pick a side, right, if you say you're a Democrat, if you say you're a Republican, you refuse to be objective about anything.
That's why I'm an independent.
Yes, but
I think that's the best way to go.
But that's not a monolith. We're not, Democrats are not a monolith.
But why can't you say when Democrats are wrong? And why can't Republicans say when Republicans are wrong?
I'll tell you when Democrats are wrong.
So you don't think Joe Biden is wrong?
No, I don't. And can I just point...
It's not possible. The mainstream media itself has reduced itself to tabloid nonsense. Look at this. We're looking at The View, a daytime television show that typically would be talking about entertainment and fashion and foods and trends and these sorts of things, but it's all politics now. Everybody has sides. And that's what I've always maintained. When it comes to the left, they categorize, they stereotype, they try to claim that they protect the certain interest of a particular group, and this group should be protected from that group, and that group shouldn't associate with this other group. And so they create this absurd identitarianism and intersectionality. They create all this, CRT, all of this nonsense, DEI, BIPOC, all these labels and tags and categories. They all create these things. And then when they get called out on it, of course, we were always being called out on it, so you would always be shut down. But now, as Donald Trump has won, you can see now that the wokeness of it all, the cancel culture, the absurdity of it is breaking down.
this out to you. The president has a part in power, right?
I didn't say you were ridiculous, Ms. Goldberg.
Yeah,
I would never. I said that. I just think that.
Think about it. Just think about it this way.
Let me skip it along here.
Just very quickly, can you reframe it in this way and think about it maybe in this way? The president has the ultimate part in power. Every president has done this, right?
Yeah.
And so people are saying is that Joe Biden is now a liar, as opposed to Joe Biden is someone who now knows that the person that is going to be.
And I want to interrupt this for a second, because her and Whoopi Goldberg the other day were saying that the president has the power to do this, the president has the power to do that. But when it comes to Donald Trump, he's not allowed to have that power. Remember? They kept saying, the Supreme Court gave him immunity. No, they gave the office of the presidency immunity. If a president does something outside of his office, right, outside of his responsibilities or process that is, the presidency or the office, then yes, he can get in trouble. He can be impeached by the Senate. And then they would, of course, do an investigation and then turn over whatever the results were outside of his duty and say, hey, we're turning this over to the Department of Justice because the president acted outside of his office. So these people it's like going back to the sides, and the team expression that Charlamagne used here is that, it's okay when it's their team. When they're in power, it's totally fine to do whatever you need to do. But when it's the other team, now wait a minute, no, we need to put them in check.
In the White House is on a revenge tour, and his son is on an enemies list. And so he is using his rightful political power to pardon his son.
You see, it's okay when they use the power, right? It's perfectly fine when their team has the power. But now that it's Donald Trump, we've got to resist. We've got to fight everything he does.
Now, is that a lie, or is that perhaps being pragmatic, having a change of opinion, as opposed to the president-elect who has lied almost 40,000 times?
See, there you go. There you go. In these broad general statements, Donald Trump convicted on 34 counts. It's absurd. They never talk about the fact that it was only one transaction. It was one check that was involved in this whole thing. They had to turn it into 34 counts because it would typically be a misdemeanor. So they had to raise it up because it was transitional. And then they raise it to a felony. It's absolutely outrageous.
During his first term.
Well, I can't say what it is because I'm not in
the moral high ground. Like, what's the faux outrage?
Neither.
In other words, yes, he's trying to say who has the real righteousness, right? Who has the real power? Who has the ability to actually wield the power correctly or in a way that we agree with it?
One of them have the moral high ground. That's what I'm trying to get everybody to understand. But when you are a diehard Democrat or a diehard Republican, you refuse to be objective about the other party. Like, it's like we're watching.
I agree with him to an extent, objectivity, because I just watched a video of a girl. It was on Twitter. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I don't know whether I saved it or not, but I'm going to check and see if I can bookmark it, because she was outlining how she was a liberal and then she changed her mind and became a conservative, or voted for Donald Trump. And I don't see it here now, but she was saying that how, she was a liberal for most of her life. Then she voted for Donald Trump. And while she was a liberal, of course, she would attack Republicans and insult them and everything else. And then as she told these liberal people that she voted for Trump, then they started attacking her, and she was totally not used to it. She was saying the Republicans would at least acknowledge that they we agree to disagree. But she said once her liberal friends realized that she had voted for Trump, then they started attacking her. And she says that never happened when I was a liberal and I was around Republicans. It never happened. So we're just closing up this here.
Them do something wrong, but we're making excuses for it. We watch Republicans do things wrong and they make excuses for it. Why can't we just all be objective and call it what it is?
Because it's not balanced.
Because they can't be objective. You see, there's a bias, whether it's left biased or right biased, there is a bias. And unfortunately for the Democrats, they're coming to terms now realizing that all this power they gave themselves, all these capabilities they gave themselves are now gone, and they're angry about it, and they want to resist, and they want to go after Donald Trump. And they still want to shame, they still want to belittle, they still want to smear, but it's not the same anymore because now we have the power back. We have the power back, and these people are going to be held accountable for what they have done all these years, for what they have done to Donald Trump, for what they've done to the American people. And I would argue that all this lawfare against Donald Trump is a violation of his civil rights. So there's going to be a lot to have to answer for by the left, by the Democrats, because they're basically already have admitted that Donald Trump won, because this is why it was so important that he get that popular vote. But this is absolutely extraordinary. I welcome your guys' thoughts and opinions down below. I'm glad that many of these individuals, like Charlamagne, who tries to exercise a level of objectivity and so forth, and that's what we kind of do here on the BuzWeaver channel, although I have my bias, of course, but at least I can sit back and listen to what the left has to say and realize, okay, I agree or disagree with that to an extent. But for the most part, I disagree with a lot of things they say, because you can see right here, they try to take on a position of righteousness. They try to take on a position that their intentions are so good that we just have to dismiss their behavior, dismiss their smears, dismiss what they have done to people, how they try to destroy people, and how they try to shut people down. It's absolutely unacceptable. And I'm glad that Kash Patel may be leading up the FBI so that all this can be reconciled, brought into light, and straightened out, because it's just what they have gotten away with is just, they should not have gotten away with everything they did. And I'm glad that it's all falling apart. But again, I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you to all of you guys on BitChute, Rumbles, and Odyssey for your guys' continued support. Below this video, you can find the various social media links that I belong to include X, as you see here. And would welcome you guys, would welcome a follow from you guys. So by all means, you are welcome to follow me there. And of course, if you order frequently from Amazon or are a Prime member, I have my social media links down below. That would be the affiliate marketing links to be more specific. Or if you're interested in a VPN, I've got that down there available for you guys. But of course, the likes, the shares, and the comments is always appreciated. And my follows are always changing. I get to 155, then it drops to 120, and then it just goes back and forth. But nonetheless, thanks to all of you guys. I really appreciate everything. Now, appearing there on the screen, that will be the channel icon. You guys can click on that to subscribe, as well as to select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I'll see all you guys in the next video.